I met the riders of Pendle Cyclist Touring Club close to where I grew up.
Good morning.
I may have left decades ago, but it's still home ground.
I've had a word with Maureen and she's going to put the kettle on. So,
You've obviously got influence.
yeah.
The former mill town of Nelson is home to around 30,000 people. More than 40% is Asian, mostly Pakistani origin. But the whole area is strikingly segregated. Around the town, a host of beautiful villages are almost exclusively white.
It's 20 years since I left. When I was here, there was a lot of Pakistanis in Nelson.
Yeah.
A lot of the villages were pretty much white villages.
That's still the case.
That's still the case.
Yeah. And we've also got influx of other nationalities. We've got quite a lot of Polish people who are coming to do the jobs here.
The community's never really mixed, to be honest, when I was growing up here. Do they now?
It's probably still the same. You've got sort of the Polish community, they tend to keep themselves to themselves. Well, the Asian community probably always has. You know, they've always sort of, they don't integrate. This is the problem. If they integrated more, it would be a better society. Now, whatever government gets in, whether they can get all this sort of immigrants, the whites, to integrate, that'll be a lot better.
Nelson's only 40% Asian, but they all tend to live in the town centre. Nazir Mahmood is a community worker here and says it isn't that they don't integrate, it's white flight.
As soon as Asians start moving into Nelson, the English people start moving out. So they did not want to, sit down with us, live next door to us.
Why do you think that is?
Obviously, there were issues back in the early 80s, up to 90s. Yeah, there is racism out there.
Nelson's communities have been separated for as long as anyone can remember. The question is, does it matter?
Once you settle in one part, then a lot of people go in, tend to stay with their friends and their relatives coming up, they'd either stay in one community, one place.
The people you hang out with, your friends, are they mostly Asian?
Well, mostly Asian, but in college obviously you have the society of whites as well and other cultures, so you mix in with other people, not just Asians.
Do you see them outside college?
Not much.
When I lived just outside Nelson in Barrowford, we were the only Asians in the village.
This was my house for many years, and we sold it to an Asian family who run a business in Nelson, and they're still here more than 20 years later. So I'm going to go and say hello.
Sunil Vastev came to Britain aged 12 with nothing. He started off selling copper tubing and now has a hugely successful plumber's merchant, which his son and daughter-in-law are taking on.
How do you think this place has changed since I left it? Is it still it's still a very separated place though, isn't it?
Yeah, just being honest with this, in the area we're currently living in, I think we are the only Asian family. However, if you go...
Because we were the only Asian family when we lived here. And now you're the only Asian family still, 20 years on.
Yes. There are a few more Asian people moving into the areas, but it is still quite limited. You'll find that, obviously, you go 2 miles down the road into Nelson, it's obviously a bit more of a mixed, there's Asian areas.
Nowadays, in Nelson Town Centre, there is not like English people.
All the white people have left?
Yeah, there is not much.
Yes, generally I think because it's so heavily populated with Muslims, I'm not used to that. I'm from Liverpool, that's very multicultural and you see all sorts of walk of life.
So how do you feel going into Nelson?
I do feel uncomfortable, definitely. I'd like to just get in and get out, get my jobs done. I wouldn't roam around comfortably at all.
Why?
Because just how I get looked at, I think I get looked at differently by the men as well as the women, because the women are obviously more traditionally dressed. I'm more modern, more wearing my English clothes.
Nelson was once a place to hold up as a beacon of multicultural welcoming.
In fact, early in the last century, Nelson Cricket Club hired a professional player from the Caribbean. He went on to become the first black member of the House of Lords.
Leary Constantine came to Nelson in 1929.
It was quite a coup when he was brought to Nelson. He was paid handsomely for his wage, was earning £500 per year. And yet there was little resistance from the local community to that wage because they really took him to the heart.
Whatever happened between then and now, Nelson's communities may not be fighting each other, but you can't say they've taken each other to their hearts.